try my best to show a step-by-step process of how I created the beginning part of my animation. So let's go ahead and head into After Effects. We're going to start with a new composition. I will start off by showing you guys how I did the outer transition circle. So I'm going to call this outer circle transition. And for the preset, I'm going to stay with 1080p at 30 frames per second. You can do 720p at 30 frames per second, depending if you're using this on a laptop or a computer. And this just makes it much smoother on your laptop if you don't want it to be too laggy. So I'm going to do 1080p. So now we're going to head down here to durations, and I have mine set to 10 seconds. And that controls this right here. Since it's going to be a short animation, I only need 10 seconds of it. So with this down here, you can choose a color for your background, and I will leave mine on black. So I'm going to click OK and then OK. So let's go ahead and draw the circle. So let's head to this section here, right click, go to new, and then select shape layer. So now we go to the toolbar up here, left click and hold for this new window to pop up. And we're going to use the ellipse tool. So we click that. On your keyboard, hold down shift, left click and drag with your mouse. And this would just make a perfect circle. So if you click on the layer again, you can see here that the anchor point is not centered. And to make that centered, if you're on a PC, hold down on Control. If you're on a Mac, click and hold down on the Command key. And while you do that, head over to the toolbar here and left click twice. So 1, 2. And you can see that the anchor point is now centered on the circle. So now I want this circle to be centered on my screen. So we're going to go ahead and go to align here. I already had mine open, so we're going to horizontally align it and vertically align it. And that just centers it on the screen. You can also go down here to these save margins, I believe. Yeah, that. And you can click that, and that toggles on this so you can see if it's centered or not. I don't need it, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. So now with this layer selected, we're going to go to the search bar here and just type size. If you click S on your keyboard, it's going to pop up scale, and we don't want scale, we want size. So we're going to put this size to about 200%. There you go. And then we're going to put a keyframe on that. Oh, and I also want a stroke, not a fill. So we go up here, we turn off the fill to none, okay. And then we go to the stroke here. Let's do about a 10. Yeah, that's good. And then I want a different color, so I'm going to click this icon here. You can select any color you want, or you can leave it on white. I already know the color number that I want, so I'm going to go ahead and type it. 007FFD. And I'm going to click OK. And now we're going to duplicate this layer. So make sure you select this layer here. So click it. On your keyboard, click Control D, and that duplicates it. We're going to do that 5 more times. So now we have that. So now we're going to go ahead and left click and select all of these. And you can click U on your keyboard to open up the keyframes, the active keyframes. You can click U again and it will close them. So I'm going to click U to open all my active keyframes. And so now we're going to resize each circle to be 10 pixels larger. So for this one, I'm going to do 210, 220, 230, 240, and then 250. And make sure you have this link icon clicked on. That way it sizes up the X and the Y value the same size. If you don't have that, then you can see here that only the X value is this and the Y stays this. So make sure you put 250 back on here. So that way they both resize with the same value. So now left click and select all these layers. Go here to the graph editor, click it. And now go down here and left click and select all of these keyframes. So all these keyframes are selected. Make sure this box here is toggled, the transform box. Now go back here and we're going to click and drag up. And this is just going to resize it. So keep dragging. Keep dragging until you get to this part here. So this is just a bit off. Okay, so you can click anywhere here to get out of there, get out of the graph editor. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and select all these layers again. And now we're going to head to the top section here and increase the stroke until the composition is covered in blue or whatever color you chose for your stroke. So You see the stroke keeps getting larger and larger. Okay, so let me go a little bit back. So right about there. So this whole screen is completely covered by the stroke. Now let's select all these layers again, and then go to the search bar and type cap. Now on here, on the line cap, we're going to actually choose round cap. Now if you want to change every single one of them at the same time, hit Control, hit on line cap. You can see there, make sure it's selected. Mine's already selected. And then line cap here, Control line cap. So you control that, and then you just click on one of them, round cap, and it changes for all of them at the same time. It makes it much faster. So I will now select all the layers again. Click on U to close all the keyframes. So now head over to this shape layer down here. Click on here to drop it down. And then head over to this icon here to add. Click on it, and then we're going to choose trim path. So when you click it, a new trim path opens up right here. So we're going to drop that down. And we're going to put a keyframe for end and offset. So now let's select the keyframes here. And we're going to drag them over to the right a little. Now we go back to the end and set 0. And then for the offset, we'll set it at -90. Okay, so we got that. So now select these keyframes, Control C for copy. And then select all the other layers. So unselect the first layer, so you don't want to make another copy on here. So we're going to click here, then Control, click this one, and this one, and that one. Okay, so I have all the other layers selected except layer 1. Now Control V to paste those keyframes onto the other ones. And now if you highlight all of these and you press U, you can see that they all have the same keyframes now. So click U again to close them all up. Now let's select all the layers. Go to the search bar here and type in stroke. Okay. Now go down to stroke width and set a keyframe for each one. Okay, so now we have the keyframes. Let's select all the keyframes on the right side here. And let's move them over to the right a little. Okay. Now make sure your cursor is at the beginning of the timeline. So make sure it's down here. Now we're going to go to the stroke width value and we're going to set that to 10 for this one. And we're going to do the same for each layer. You should have something that looks like this right now. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so now select all the keyframes on the right side here. And you can either right click, go to keyframe assistant and easy in, or you can just click F9. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to select all of them and click F9 on my keyboard. And there you go. They're all easy in. Now I'm going to click U again to close up the keyframes. And now all you have to do is move each one individually over like this. And voila, you have your animation. So I'm going to hit home to go all the way back. Press spacebar to play it. And that's what it looks like. So you can control the speed of this by moving this around. The farther I set these bars back is the longer the transition will last. So if I want it to last a long time, I can just move these around like this. It's going to be much slower, but much longer. You can see that. So you can play around with this and see what you like. You can even do this. Have some start off at the beginning. That. So this is what this one looks like. So make this. So you can play around with this and see what you like. You can see that. We're going to have this inverted by going the other way. So it starts off at the edges and goes into the center. You can move it around to make sure it looks a little smoother. But for mine, I'm going to go ahead and start from the bottom. So this is what I like.